Hey guys, this is Aziz and it is Tech Time. Today I'm going to show you another tutorial of the C++ intro series, and this tutorial will have to take care of enums and anything to have to do with them. The next tutorial will be about classes, and enums are just a way to make your life easier, compact everything in a small spot, and you don't have to create too many variables. This tutorial is in one of the first classes of C++ class, but if you're not in a class, it's good to learn and make your life much easier. So let's go ahead and start this tutorial by going to Start and type Visual. And I'm gonna do this every time I start a tutorial. I just want to make sure everyone knows what they're doing and I guide them to the right spot. So click on Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. Now right in here, go to New Project, and in the project it would be C++ language, empty project, and inside the name would be structures. For me, I'm going to name it structures. You don't have to, so go ahead and press OK. Alright, now go ahead and right click on source files, add a new item, and the new item, go to C++ file, then name it, and the name, I'm going to name it main as usual. There it is. There is main. So let's go ahead and zoom in to 180, or actually 200 for this time. Now let's go ahead and make our main. To include, we're going to include the libraries of IOStream as usual. Now we can also include string. We're going to use that, and we're going to also include IOmanip. IOmanip is to format your output, and I've talked about it before. Let's go ahead and use using namespace std. Alright, and let's go ahead and include void main, and right in here system pause. Okay, now we have the main file. So to explain structures and why do we need them is because of this. Say you need a name for employees, string employee name, and you make an array of it 10, right? And then you put a comma, student name, and then you put a 10, and then comma, then you have some like a worker or something like that, and you also put a name for it and 10. But what if you have a big company, you're working with a big company and you have a bunch of employees, students names, worker names, and anything like that. So to do that, to make your life much easier than creating for everyone a name and organizing it that way, you can do structures. So let's go ahead and delete this, backspace it. Okay, now you can follow me on this one and start typing. And here, under using namespace std and above void main, let's go ahead and include, not include, but use structure, struct. This is how you type struct, struct. It will be highlighted in blue, and then you can use it. The struct, you have to give it a name. We're going to give it a name of person because we're going to create people, and then we're going to organize them the way we want. So press enter, open squirrely brackets, close them as usual, just like a normal function. And under the last squirrely brackets, this is the thing that's different about structures and classes. You have to put a semicolon right at the end for them to work. Otherwise, they would give you issues. Now, in the variables that you're going to make are all going to be under structure, right in here. To create it, let's go ahead and create them, the variables that we need. We're going to need a name, so string name, and you cannot initialize it. If you do this like that, you stand over the squirrely mark of the red squirrely mark, it would say data member initializer not allowed. Here it is, data member initializer is not allowed. And let's go ahead and take that off. You do not initialize inside the structure. We are also going to use a float, and we're going to call it salary, and that's it. We have the name and a salary. Now let's go ahead and continue with the rest of it. Now something is very different about structures. You need to organize them in a better way. The structures and classes, you need to organize them in a better way. C++ have been changing throughout the years, and this is one of the changes that have been sticking around, which you need to organize them in different places, the files, especially this. So to organize it, I'm going to zoom into a place right in here, right in the corner, so you can see it. In the resource files, we put the files. But what about the header file? What do we put inside the header file? So go ahead and right click on it, add, new item, click on that, and then go to header, right in here, this one. This is the header, the .h file. This is the file that you're gonna need. So to create a name for it, go ahead and go to name and type header, or whatever you want to name it as. I'm gonna just name it header. Add it. So header file and the header files, it makes perfect sense. Let's drag it, and I'm gonna drag it all the way to the right here, and then let go of the mouse. There it is. Now let's zoom in to 200. Okay, so what do we need to put in the header file? What we need is this chunk of code. Right click on it and cut anything but main. Go ahead in the header file, right click, then paste. Now we have everything in here, and it will these errors will go away as soon as C++ the compiler figures out that okay, we have everything in here. And in this section of the files, we need to use these libraries, and you can see that the errors are now, the squirrely marks are gone from here. Now we need to use these libraries, string and IOMinib, because we cannot use the strings right here. If you can see, it says identifier system is unidentified. It has squirrely red marks under it. So we need to access this file right in here. How do we access it? We include it. So we type include, just like we're including a library, but instead of doing less than, we do double quotes. And the first thing we see is another file from this project. So click on it, double click on it, and here's the header.h, close the squirrely double quotes, and then we don't have any more squirrely marks in here. Now how do we use the structure? To use the structure, we're gonna call it. To call it, just like we do with other things like enums, we call the name that we gave, this variable name for the structure, we call that. So we do person. Now we've called it just like when we do string, we are calling person. Now we have to give it a variable name. The variable name will be employee, like that, employees, let's say, because we have many of them. Then open bracket, and then let's make 10, or let's make 5 of them, and let's close the bracket, and then put a semicolon. Now we've created 5 employees, and then we can do comma instead of the squirrely mark, or I apologize, the semicolon. Take it off, and then put a comma, and in here put students, and then make 5 of them, and then semicolon. Now we have employees and students, and if we want, we can keep adding more people right here. So go ahead and press enter. Now in here we're gonna work with them. So first we're gonna have to create a bunch of strings, or we can fill them out ourselves, but for this one I'm gonna make strings to make it much easier to deal with. So the strings would be employee names, and it will be 5 of the employee names, or just do names. Let's just do names instead of employee names, and then put 5 of them, and equal squirrely mark, and then let's make a name. So John Doe, and then let's make another name. I'm gonna go ahead and push this file to the right, and then we're gonna make another name, John Jackson, and comma Jill Robinson. I'm just making random names, and let's go ahead and under it and type more names, and we're gonna make Jackson, Jill, whatever, and let's make one more name, Z Jackson. Alright, let's close the squirrely bracket and semicolon. Let's push it to the right so it's formatted correctly. There it is. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These employees are also students, so we're just gonna make names for them. And now we're gonna make the salaries. So float, and we're gonna say salary, and we're gonna make 5 of it equals to, so let's say 15,000.10 and 25,000.10, 35,000.10 and 45,000.10, 55,000.10, close the squirrely bracket, semicolon. Alright, now we have it. Now we're done with it. Okay. Now the reason I made these because I don't have a file I'm getting the input from. Usually you will have a file you're inputting from, or an Excel spreadsheet that you have a lot of employees, and this is how it's going to be helpful. But now I'm doing it manually for you, so I teach you the way to it and then you take it from there. So we have the strings now, we have the floats now, and then let's go ahead and fill the employees. So to fill it, we make a for loop as usual, because we know the size. So for int I equal 0, I is less than 5 because we have 5 employees, I plus plus, and let's start inside the loop. Now to make it equal to, we do employees like that. We call this employees, person employees, we call this variable at what position? At position I, because I starts from 0 and ends in 4. So at position I, because these are going to start from 0 also, it counts from 0. So then to access name and salary right around here from these variables inside main, you do, after this bracket, you do dot. This period will access name and salary. The blue block means it's public, so you can use it from any file. So you can double click on name or just press enter on it. So you have the name now. What is the name equal to? That's a good question. Equals to names. Names is coming from here. This string names. Names at I. That's it. Now we have set the name. To set the salary, we do employees again. We're accessing this person employees, this structure. It's a different structure than the student structure. We're just accessing it. So at position I dot, we have salary. Click on it or enter, equals to salary, which is this right here, and the float in main at position I. There it is. Now it's set. Now to output it for us, we can do this, another for loop, or instead of doing that, actually we can just print it right here. So we can do cout employees at position I dot name, and then put a space, and then employees at position I dot salary, but it's not going to show up because I have a problem right here. I forgot to put double less thans, and then dot salary right here, and put an end line right there. There it is. Now we're done with the employees. Now let's go ahead and run it and see what comes up to us. Let's go ahead and debug, start without debugging, and let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's see what happened. So now John Doe is the first name. 15,000.10 is right here. John Jackson 2,500, 25,000, and so on to the rest of them. They are correctly positioned, every one of them. So let's go press enter. Let me show you what happens step by step. So you can click on this, and let's minimize it. Put it on the side right here, and I'm gonna take this file away. Just gonna put it with the main file because we don't need it anymore. Let's go back to main. So I'm gonna press F5. Here it is. So let's see what happened. I'm gonna press F10, or you can press on here, like this one, step over, F10. You can see the names is John Doe, and the employee's name is equal, let's press this plus, and at position 0 right here is John Doe. The salary is garbage still, it's just a random number. Now in here what's gonna happen, if I stand over it, you can see that it is a random number, but the salary at I has a different number. It has 15,100 in it. So let's go and press F10. Now if I stand over over salary, now it's at position I as 15,000. What it is equal to right in here at position 0. And I'm going to press F10 again. Here it is, John Doe 15,000. I'm going to press F10 again. Now it's going to change the name. Here it is, and this one at position 1, this one is going to change. There it is, John Jackson. Salary now is going to change, 25,000. Now F10 again, it will output it. There we go. Now at position 3, the name will change to what is at position 3, Jill Jackson, and the salary stays the same. The salary now will change to 35,000.10. F10, there it is, and go ahead and continue, and it will display it. There it is, and it will keep doing that. So I hope you have understood this, and if you haven't, just ask any questions that you have on the YouTube channel or on indiedevelopment.co. We're not done with this tutorial. Let's go ahead and continue. Maximize it, take off this dot, and let's go ahead and continue. Now I'm going to introduce you to a different issue. So let's go ahead and do another. Let's put an cout. Let's put an end line right here to separate them. I'm going to fill the students. So for int I equals 0. I is less than 5 because we have 5 students. I plus plus. There it is. Now students at position I dot name is equal to names at I. There it is. But we're not going to fill them with salaries because they're just students. So let's see what happens this time when we don't fill it. So cout students at I dot name, and put an end line right here. And also we're going to display, let's put a space right here, less than, space, and let's display students at I dot salary. But we haven't filled the salary, so let's see what happens now. Debug, start without debugging, and here it is. What happened is, if we don't fill it, it will stay as what I call garbage. It's just any random number that it accesses from the CPU, from the processor. So it's just random number like that. To initialize it, let's go and press X. To initialize it, we can make another one right here. Let's press enter. Student at position I dot salary dot salary, there it is equal to 0.0f. I can do that, and I can just do a loop before I enter this loop and make all the names to nothing, to all the salaries to 0.0f, and then I can fill them as we go along. So let's go ahead and debug, start without debugging, and here's the output. Now all of them are zeros because it goes at one after another and sets them to 0. So let's go ahead and close it, and let me just give you a brief summary, and I'm gonna zoom out of it to 120, and same thing with the, I'm just gonna keep the header to zoomed in. Let's make this to 150. Alright, now let me summarize on what happened in here. This one, the include right here, this is including the header file. This is just going to this file right here and going to see what's in it. It reads what's in it and reports back to main. So if there are these libraries, whenever you need to include a library, so let's go ahead and take this library away, the string library. See what happens in here. Now we have issues. The string library is not okay to work with. No operator matches these operands because we have now issues with string. And let's go ahead and compile it and see the error. There it is. Initialization traction of double. That's an issue with also some other things. Let's see the rest of them. Here's the other issues. It goes back to inside one of the OStream files. So let's go ahead and close it and go back and include string. There's string, and now the issues would be gone. Let's compile it again. It wouldn't say any issues about it. But just remember that it will still give you warning initialization, and you still have an issue with the initialization because we never initialized it. We did it here just because we were doing it here, but we should be doing it when we come in to the file, as in say students at i.salary is 0.0f and student.name is equal to nothing. Instead of doing name, we can just do this and put a semicolon before we enter it, but we're not gonna do that. I'm just showing you an example. So now we include the header file. Let's see what's inside the header file. Inside the header file is just the libraries using namespace std, and there's the structure. You just make two simple variables, and see, just two simple variables made all this happen. Otherwise we would have to create names, we have to create different variables for them, like employee names and student names, and then other names, and salary is the same thing to every one of them. But we only did two of them, and we have only two loops and just two variables right here. That is all. Now in here inside main, we call person. Person is the structure name, so we call person and we give it a name, a variable name, just like when we do with strings. Strings, names, and person, employees, and then we make 5 of them. Students, we make 5 of them. And now in here, string names, we make 5 of them, and this is just randomized. It could be from a file, it could be from an Excel spreadsheet, I don't care. I just gave one for example. And here the for loop will go ahead and fill it. You access the employees goes to the person, and you can do at position I dot. The dot lets you access the variables inside the structure right in here. So you can just call the variable name that you gave it at what position dot whatever variable that you want to fill, equals to initialize it, equals to names at I. Names is just this variable, the string right here, this one at position I, which is like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's 5 of them right in here because we set it to 5. We fill the salary too, we display them just like that. Whenever you want to access them, you just do employees, the variable name, what position, and dot to access it, and then the variable name inside the structure. Same thing in here, but if you're not filling it with anything, you can do equals 0.0 or 0 or whatever the variable kind name. You just initialize it, and I've made a tutorial on that, and there is a Word spreadsheet on it if you want to look on how you make the variables initialized. Guys, this is the end of the tutorial. So if you like it, please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask on the YouTube channel or indiedevelopment.co in the forums in C++, and I will answer you as fast as possible. I appreciate the help you give me, and I appreciate any questions you have. I'll try to work on it. If you have any problems with viewing the video or any issues with zooming or keeping up, just let me know and I'll try to work around it. And thank you for watching the video.